The story begins in a tough mining prison, where hundreds of prisoners work tirelessly. A big machine called the Crusher Pit suddenly breaks down, and a guard named Kai is asked to fix it. After a short while, he manages to get it running again. Things take a dramatic turn when an alarm announces the arrival of a new prisoner. When the others see who it is, they all rebel and attack the guards with sheer strength. Realizing they're outnumbered, a guard activates the Crusher Pit's controls, making the chains around the prisoner's legs pull them toward the pit. In a desperate bid to save himself, Kai makes a daring choice. He cuts off his own leg to avoid being dragged into the pit, driven by adrenaline. He then bravely uses his one good leg to deactivate the Crusher Pit, saving the other prisoners from a terrible fate, before collapsing from exhaustion. When Kai wakes up, he finds himself under the watchful eye of a man named Hatcher. Hatcher reveals that he knew Kai's father and that they had fought together in the past. Hatcher, with a sense of heaviness, reveals that the mission they were about to embark on was the one they were least equipped for. Unveiling the mechanical leg meant for Kai, he proceeds to lay out their strategy to infiltrate a prison set on a spacecraft. Pausing briefly, he emphasizes their need for additional information. Hatcher then shares distressing news about their enemies capturing Kai's father, planning to showcase him during Liberation Day. Acknowledging Kai's prowess as a pilot, Hatcher presents a daring plan to rescue his father by seizing a vital ship and acquiring crucial data. He assures Kai of his return post-mission. Kai, resolute and determined, agrees to undertake the task. They prepare to venture into the vast expanse of deep space aboard the Arrowhead vessel. For most of the journey, Kai remains in a state of suspended animation, awakening early only to access the ship's records through the communication system. Hatcher guides Kai through the mission's next phase, explaining that connecting the device will prompt the wrist link to manage the entire process. It will download crucial files and display information, highlighting the system's momentary vulnerability. Despite Kai's concerns, Hatcher advises him to proceed, assuring it's a temporary situation. When the download concludes, Hatcher alerts Kai about an unusual flare outside the ship, instructing him to stay put until their rescue. Placing his trust in Kai, Hatcher encourages him to send the files. Kai begins the file transfer, but a system failure triggers instability in the ship. Prioritizing safety, he aborts the file transfer, activates safety pods, and hurries to the shuttle bay connected to the mothership. Inside the shuttle, Kai locks himself in and descends to a desert moon. Luckily, the landing is relatively gentle, and the shuttle sustains no damage. However, initial readings from the ship warn Kai about the moon's potentially toxic atmosphere, with symptoms that could lead to paralysis or even death. The onboard air system alarms Kai about oxygen depletion, prompting a male voice named Oleander to urgently communicate through the comms. Oleander instructs any survivors to head to a designated location. Acting on this, Kai leaves the shuttle and heads to the primary crash site, where he discovers scattered debris. In his search, he finds a woman and brings her back to the shuttle. When she wakes up, identified as Terran, she accesses the shuttle's systems with suspicion. Terran questions Kai's absence from the launch pad and, after tense dialogue, reveals that the launch pods are set to depart soon, urging them to head there. Journeying together, they spot the crashed ship and notice a peculiar obelisk nearby. Terran, suspecting Kai's allegiance to Hatcher, shares a grim past. She explains that Hatcher was a malevolent figure who conducted raids on colonies before the war, causing the deaths of thousands of people. She doubts Terran's account, considering it mere fabrication. Aware that the ship's crew won't welcome Kai, he decides to leave, intending to pilot the shuttle to a nearby station. However, the shuttle requires access codes he lacks, leaving him stranded. Rushing back to find Tyrion, who's nearing the shuttle, they witness the ship's unexpected departure, abandoning them. Despite their desperate attempts to signal the ship, an unseen force pulls Kai into a hole, leaving Terran isolated on the rocky moon. Terran, determined to find other survivors, explores the terrain. To her surprise, she discovers Kai, unclothed and covered in an unusual substance, with his healed leg. She brings him to the main ship, conducting tests on his blood, revealing a unique symbiotic relationship between his body and an organism, granting him healing and immunity to the toxic environment. When Kai awakens, Tyrion eagerly inquires about his well-being and experiences. However, Kai struggles to recollect much about the encounter, expressing only a sense of wellness. Worried about their limited resources, Tyrion confirms their scarcity, prompting them to embark on a moon exploration in search of sustenance. During their search, they come across Oleander, enclosed in a peculiar cocoon and dragging himself toward the shuttle. Using an AI to scan and access the shuttle's controls, they successfully get it operational. However, Carr, apprehensive about Oleander's inclusion, fears it could jeopardize their mission to rescue Kai's father. Despite Car's reservations, Oleander recalls his past protection of Car's father and insists that the person he once knew would not abandon someone to die. Oleander awakens outside, disoriented and paranoid, shouting about Hatcher's imminent threat. He grabs a gun and fires, tragically killing Terran before Car can intervene. Consumed by anger over Terran's loss, Kai unleashes his fury, beating Oleander to death before realizing he has been shot too. When he regains consciousness, he finds himself surrounded by the lifeless bodies of Oleander and Terran. He enters the shuttle, realizing it's nearly out of power after running for approximately 34 days, mirroring the time he was in stasis. The ship's AI alerts him to detecting Oleander's heartbeat during his slumber. Driven to restore the shuttle's power and reach New Holland before his father's execution, Kai tirelessly repairs the vessel. One night, he's gripped by excruciating pain, forcing him outside, where he undergoes a profound transformation. The next day, he wakes up on the sand, unclothed, realizing the symbiotic creature responsible for his survival triggered this change due to his intense emotions. Returning to the ship, he resumes work on the power source, but the AI informs him that Liberation Day has passed. Overwhelmed by his father's loss and 2 days since his transformation, Kai succumbs to despair, lying on the ground, resigned to his fate on the moon. Determined to regain control over his transformations to avoid further loss of time. During a nighttime conversation with the AI, they contemplate a theory. The AI proposes that both Kai and Hollander share a common symbiotic condition, but Hollander's relationship with the symbiote seems to be permanent. The AI explains that death is now a part of their cycle, and despite Kai killing Oleander 3 years ago, his consciousness persists in a new replicated body, serving as a test of the theory. Acting on the AI's suggestion, Kai takes his own life, and as predicted, he resurrects in a new body, leaving his former body as bait. He uses it to lure the old Oleander creature into a trap and shoots it. As the creature dies, a monstrous growl echoes through the palace. Discussing this with the AI, Kai learns that the moon reacts when he attempts self-harm, suggesting that it mourns each time one of them dies and activates its healing power. Shortly after, the AI hints at wanting to discuss Terran but waits for Kai to become impatient before broaching the topic. Kai persistently demands answers from the AI, prompting it to play an audio recording that reveals the night believed to be Terran's demise. Astonishingly, the recording unveils Terran undergoing her initial transformation and escaping cunningly. This revelation overwhelms Kai, who struggles with the AI's withholding of such vital information. Despite the sadness and lost time in searching for Terran, Kai now possesses renewed determination to find her. Utilizing parts from their ship, he constructs an air body, enhancing his mobility. Determined to uncover clues about Terran's whereabouts, Kai embarks on an expedition, exploring the area. During his exploration, he encounters an expansive tunnel that seems to stretch deeper as he progresses. As Kai navigates these tunnels, both he and the AI detect powerful electromagnetic signals emanating from within. Inside, Kai discovers Oleander's original bodies fused to the walls, as if the moon had assimilated him. In an attempt to end his torment, Kai terminates Oleander and the creature spawned from him. Unable to harm his own transformed self, he exits the tunnels. Outside, he discovers indications suggesting Tyrion's escape, sparking hope within him. Discussing this with the AI, they witness flaming objects descending from the sky. Rushing to one of these objects, Kai recognizes it from 3 years prior, baffled by its reappearance. The AI reveals classified information, disclosing that the moon is part of a time dilation experiment. Moments later, Hatcher arrives, revealing to Kai that only a few minutes have passed in the outside world while Kai experienced years on the moon. Kai urgently tries to convey to Hatcher the government's plan to construct a prison on the planet, exploiting the time difference to swiftly produce thousands of pieces of equipment. Unfazed, Hatcher admits prior awareness of the moon's peculiar properties and expresses intentions to exploit them for personal gain. As Carr refuses to disclose the details, Hatcher resorts to aggression, rendering him unconscious. As Carr weakens, Hatcher unveils Tyrion, who had been taken captive during an escape attempt. He threatens her life if Carr doesn't yield the information, staring him down. Pressured, Carr eventually reveals to Hatcher that the details are in the research probe outside. However, when Hatcher attempts to retrieve it, the probe explodes due to a concealed bomb within the artificial foot, provided to Carr just before his regeneration. Carr transforms into his monstrous form and swiftly neutralizes all of Hatcher's men. Finding it challenging to revert to human form, Tyrion intervenes to help calm him, somewhat restoring control. Kai and Tyrion share a joyful reunion and head toward Hatcher's ship, now under their command. When the AI asks if he plans to rescue his father, Kai affirms his aim to save everyone. And thus, the film draws to a close. Thanks for tuning in.